Hello there and welcome to what I believe will be the final part of the Sarpedon Abridged campaign. In the previous part we finally broke through with our war on Crete, and we've now taken most of the island. We've also taken part of the Greek mainland from Sparta. Then finally we faced off against Achilles when he invaded one of our island fortresses and actually died much easier than expected in the end. So following on from our Cretan victories last time, we just need to grab one more. They had one more settlement with not enough garrison to resist in order to resolve attack. That's that then, we've taken Crete, completing the Annex of Crete mission. Turns out there are two forms of this mission actually. This is the normal form, and one of the rewards is that in one turn we become the Annex of Crete or something. Annex of Crete happens, and the other mission we have, the epic mission version, is to become Annex of Crete. So over the next turn this will complete some more missions. The most important thing to do though is decide where to go next. We've got our second army ready to go, and of course one easy move is to go and help Sarpedon. Looks like that help could be required because Menelaus is back at it again. He's appeared near Etis for a second time with an army. No idea where he keeps going or coming from, but we're going to have to go over there and take him down. So this army sails out right away. On the way over there though, we actually encounter another Spartan army sitting in the sea halfway. We're both in the fast movement stance, so we can't fight each other, we can just look at each other. But their army isn't a full stack, and it looks like it's got a bit of trash in there. So they probably can't kill us, and this is probably fine. We're going to ignore them and just sail past them effectively. Meanwhile, Sarpedon is carrying on his long-term mission to take this Spartan settlement on the western coast of Greece. We get there and the garrison is high quality enough to hold off against our full stack, so we're going to besiege them. They only have one turn of supplies. Up at Sparta, there's me failing to poison this force which is currently besieging the city. This is the Mycenaean main force, I guess. It's got their faction leader and a whole bunch of good units. We only have 0 turns of supplies at Sparta, so if we actually wait on this siege, we'll take siege attrition. So I didn't want to wait and see if they attacked because they'll probably try to make a ram or something before they move on in. Wasn't hugely interested in doing this battle since it seems like we have such an advantage. We have 1.5 stacks against their 2/3 of a stack. Auto-resolved it and the result was good. We took some losses, but those were garrison units that will pop back in soon enough. And the enemy are totally dead, so that's the Mycenaeans taught a lesson by the looks of things. But Menelaus is able to retake Etis once again, so we're just trading this settlement backwards and forwards. There's the completion of the epic version of the Crete mission, and then this mission comes up. I think that's the final epic mission, and it's just make a temple of Zeus. I'll make 2 temples of Zeus's, and we've got like 4 because I've spammed them everywhere due to their good buffs. Then we get this decision. Because we've captured Crete, we have some option to restore an old legacy of ours. I think Sarpedon is claiming both to be descended from Zeus and to be descended from some ancient Minoan kings. Basically we can keep going with our own kingdom's culture or try to change it to something else, I guess. The thing is, the changing it to something else option is way better by orders of magnitude in terms of what the buffs it gives you are. You can get better movement range and replenishment, which are the 2 most important things in the game. So we can do that. This means we miss out on economy buffs, but we certainly don't need that. That's pretty much useless here at the end of the campaign. So that's that. Now we're even stronger. As you can see, someone else came to besiege Sparta annoyingly. So our garrison's a bit depleted from the previous auto-resolve. I was hesitant to just auto-resolve this again because they have so many slingers. If we can get them to attack the town, the slingers will just waste all of their ammo throwing at things on the wall, mostly missing or hitting the wall, meaning they'll be a lot less strong than they look, plus being in a siege defense always helps anyway. But, all that said, I also didn't care very much, so I just auto-resolved it anyway, grabbed the victory and took a whole bunch of casualties just to get this out of the way. The enemy didn't actually die very much in the auto-resolve, so that's not going to be the last we see of them, but it just means I don't have to bother with this turn, and those guys go away. Also failed to poison them again at the start of my turn. I've been trying to do the poisoning quite a lot in this campaign, but so far it just doesn't seem to work, just like all of my agent assassination things. By the start of the next turn, you can see that things are just still happening at Sparta. Even more stuff appears. They're absolutely swarming us, these Ithicans. Now that they've confederated everyone by the looks of things, they're bringing everyone's troops down here. So this time we can't get out of this with a cheeky auto-resolve. We're going to have to wait for either reinforcements or for the enemy to attack the town and try our luck there. We still have our spy, and he's now leveled up to the point when I can make him better at poisoning, so I'm going to do that right now, in the hopes that eventually we'll get some poisoning to happen. This is not going to be that time. Not quite sure why I'm so unlucky, but virtually every agent action I've tried in this campaign hasn't worked, which is a shame because the enemy's ones on me work, and they're overpowered. So that sucks, but I guess it's not been enough to stop us in this case. Sarpedon goes and auto-resolves the now pretty dead garrison at Pylos, and that's that sorted. He can start coming back next turn to help out with this Sparta messy situation. And we're going to have our second army from Crete also on the way up. They're arriving now at the island to the south of Etis, where there's a tiny Spartan garrison. A quick auto-resolve deals with them. And then these two stacks will move up to Etis to see what Menelaus is up to and generally try to close things out with the Spartans. But what of that army we sailed past? Well, they have actually gone down to Crete, so again there's a Spartan army down here. We risk actually restarting the Cretan War. Annoyingly, the garrison building at Knossos disappeared when we took it, so I'm going to recruit one general to defend, but the garrison generally won't be that good. Still, we're going to try. We'll make a general and spam some troops to see what the enemy do. Sneakily, they ended up going around our walled settlement and attacking a non-walled one. We do have a decent garrison because all the minor settlements here have the level 1 garrison building in them after our previous antics in the area. In this case, I didn't want to actually fight the battle because I didn't think we'd win, and generally if you're not going to win it's not worth doing any last stand stuff, because the enemy will just respawn units and things like that. In that case, the auto-resolve very kindly killed a couple of the enemy's lesser trash, so that will help out. Now we're going to move on to an actual battle, because at Sparta, all this stuff has gone for an attack, which is perfect, because if they waited another turn, we would be half dead from attrition, so thanks for not playing the game like that to the AI. They're going to give us a chance. In this case, we've got 3 gates to defend in the north, east and south. 2 of them have rams on the way in, that's the north and the east. And to start with, we'll just sit back and do the usual. The towers will grab us some free kills, and our javelins and slings will do some damage too. Here at the south gate, they've got no ram, and they're attacking with some damaged units, damage from the previous auto-resolves in the area. They're going to really struggle to get over the wall here. They do have their hero, but my hero is nearby as well. The main action's probably going to be right here, because you can see in the background most of the enemy units are coming towards the northern gate. Their initially deployed force is going to attack without the reinforcements, absolutely perfect for us. They're just going to walk into a whole wall of jabs and tower bolts. There was me noticing that the tower bolts aren't guaranteed to get kills when they hit. For some reason I thought it always killed one model when it got a hit, but no, it just does some damage, so those guys can survive having a giant spear through them, but that's just how it works in the modern Total War. Anyway, over at the eastern gate, things are going pretty well. We've dealt with the enemy's ranged units. They have got into the town, but they're not doing all that much, as you can see. Our spears are ready to stop the enemy, but the enemy aren't too interested in fighting. Over at the north gate, here's where the real action is going to be. They smash open that gate with a ram and come on in. We're doing the usual defensive strat of letting them get a little bit into the town, and then we can shoot them from on top of the wall, but we also have this set of jabs off to the side to do the same thing, mainly because there wasn't that much space on the wall. So over time those units will take extra damage, meaning all our melee fighters really need to do is survive for a bit and the enemy will gradually get killed. Meanwhile, all the ranged stuff outside is going to get killed by the towers, even if our ranged things aren't attacking them, so that's fine. Going to be pretty much the same story here at the east gate. Those ranged units are getting finished off and their melee units are in here. Perhaps they'd eventually defeat my spears, but we now have the heavy skirmishers gradually killing them at a distance. And at the south gate, we've pretty much won. Their heroes just getting wailed on by our decent units. This is where I put our heavy bronze spearmen or something like that, the good unit in our garrison. And they were able to just kill everything coming over the wall with sheer stats, so we win in that sector, freeing up more units for later. We also win at the northern gate, but the real fight's about to begin, because here comes everything that they had in the reinforcement stacks. Tons of slingers are in this group. This is the slinger stack I was talking about earlier, where they'll sit back there and just slam us with slinging attacks that don't do that much. We've got all these no ammunition ranged units standing here, just baiting out those attacks. A lot of them are missing, going over their heads or hitting the wall in front of them. Same for the jabs they're throwing up here. It's not a complete exploit, you do actually lose troops doing this, but ranged troops with no ammo don't really mean much for the rest of the battle, so really good to stop those slingers coming and swarming our good units and stuff like that. Meanwhile, we've still got a bit of ammo on our jabs hidden behind the wall, and they're helping us defeat this spear unit post-haste with some rear attacks. On the other side of the battlefield, one of the heroes has been killed on the enemy side. They have 3 in this battle, but killing one might give the morale debuff to all of the enemy units. Don't really know how it works. Anyway, with those eastern and southern fronts won, we're going to be bringing everything back over to fight in this gate. The battle's going to come down to a massive grind. Basically, all these units are trying to get through. Maybe we'll kill them all, maybe they'll kill us. Just have to wait and see what happens, since we're starting to run out of ammo and everything. Our last little bits, I targeted onto the enemy hero because all of the shots that miss might hit the enemy's troops around him, but then he ran forwards to attack our hero up this hill. Guess our men couldn't be bothered to stop him. So now those guys have a duel. This isn't very safe because our hero there had like no health from the previous auto resolves. But the enemy's morale proved to be quite low, so our hero didn't actually get killed before the enemy hero routed due to having somewhat low health himself, and things went okay somehow in the end. I think the enemy slingers are killing quite a lot of their own men, trying to shoot into the gate there, so that's perfect. And as more of our stuff arrive, or all of our stuff arrives here at the northern gate, we've pretty much got this. The balance bar's still even, but the enemy don't have much chance of getting in, and you can see many of the units in the gate are starting to rout away. Ours are as well, but that doesn't matter. We've got replacements. The enemy doesn't. And from here, things progress to a chain rout. The blob in the gate just routs, all the slingers still outside get out of there as well. Now the real meat of the battle, we need to send everything out of the gate to chase down lots of these very alive units and try to get more kills out of this fight. Since we only really killed the first stack and bits of the second and third, let's turn that into something a bit more decisive, gradually killing them as they rout. As mentioned previously, it's a bit difficult. Here is the final result though. We pretty much annihilated them, a heroic victory. That first army's really dead, the other ones can probably put together another army from their survivors, but that won't be enough to overcome our survivors, and if that's all Ithica have to throw at us for now, our front line at Sparta has officially held. Now we can grab Sarpedon and start bringing him over to clear things up and further solidify our position. With the Ithican armies now mostly dead looking, we're probably in a great position I should say, to counter-attack and do something nasty to them. Meanwhile, our 2 stacks coming up from the south arrive at Etis and instantly take it. Well, actually that's 1 stack taking it. The second stack came behind them, didn't need it for the battle I suppose. And that's that. Now the Spartans actually have no territory because they foolishly didn't capitalize on their win down in Crete. They razed that place they took earlier. That means their armies will take constant attrition from now on. They're in big trouble. You can see Menelaus up there has an army. He could do something and try to take some territory, but it's not going to be Etis since we're locking that place down with those 2 stacks. There were quite a few Ithicans still hanging around Sparta, tried to poison them and failed again. I'm sure if you added up all of the 40% chance to work things that have failed just that I've shown in the gameplay here, that would come to a very low probability of me failing all of them, but that seems to be what's happening so far. Now in the Spartan turn, their army goes on to attack the next minor settlement to the east. Unfortunately for them, we also have a garrison building here, so we do have some units, and because they took casualties in that auto-resolve earlier, this is a balanced setup, so we're going to fight this one out. They came into the town here via the one route I didn't defend. I set up units defending quite a few of the ways in, but not this one for some reason, and the AI correctly noticed and tried to go through it. Luckily I could move troops I had in reserve to do something about it and start moving things around in general. They also had an attack coming in from the south that actually turned back once they got close. I'm running out of them with these Kopesh warriors, eager to kill those Lacedaemonian militia. I bet these 2 units actually have the same stats or something, but I felt like I had an advantage. I think our guys are a tier higher or something, so surely that's a good fight for us, and I've got some more units on the way. Here are the guys I used to block the enemy getting into the town. This low quality spear unit's fighting some cav, which isn't such a bad setup, but it's also fighting those club warriors to their rear. Those are the club warriors that have given me trouble in the past, defeating multiple units at the same time in melees. I've got all of my slingers focused onto those club warriors trying to kill them. Meanwhile, the enemy slingers are in a bit of trouble because some of the units I don't need to hold this blob in place are going to attack them in melee. Over at the south end of town, our reinforcements are arriving, so we should win this part of the battle. The ranged units in this area, though, are going to turn in to help out with the central fight. These javs are already doing just that, in an ideal position to throw into the back of these cav. Their nice big hitboxes mean they're going to die nice and fast, and off they go with a rout. They've already killed my spears in the middle, but we've thrown more stuff into the blob fight, including our hero, so it's holding the enemy in place. And some of the fights should be okay there, like their spear runners and militia are probably worse than our heavy axemen, not quite sure. At least things are going well as we check back in later. Perhaps it's just because our slings are killing everything in the fight from a distance, and the javs throwing in on the enemy's flank are likely doing big damage over time. The enemy skirmishing units are in big trouble. Like these guys, these island skirmishers, while they're mixed melee units sort of, they seem to pull out a sword and shield and do okay against us, they're still fighting from two sides against decent-ish units. They're going to go downtown, and all of the light slingers that were here have already gone downtown or just run off. This means the battle's going to start swinging in our favour. The main blob fight's over, the last things routing out of it are annoyingly just pushing past our troops because our guys can't be bothered to kill them. I really think things that rout should have zero melee defense or something, or just die in one hit generally, because this looks really bad. It is the fault of the health system ultimately, and the janky combat animations not playing as well, which doesn't help. Anyway, no more rants about that, because this game's coming to an end. We've won this battle, and Sparta are now in big trouble, which, as I'll explain in a moment, actually means we're on the verge of total victory. That army is no longer going to be a threat. Our tiny stack nearby will finish them off in our turn. Sparta do have another move for us though, because Menelaus decides to go and attack Etis. Not a very good idea, as that balance bar suggests, so he just loses the auto-resolve. He doesn't get annihilated, his army's still alive, but we're now very much alive in comparison to him. So he's very unlikely to do anything after this. I'm guessing the AI was just desperate because it's taking attrition, so it just did a weird move like that and died. Now let's clear things up. First we kill the small army in Crete with our small army in Crete. That goes just fine. Used some Minotaurs for the first time in that auto-resolve. Shame we didn't see them in proper action. Then as for Menelaus, he just dies like that. And that's the end of the campaign. I didn't really expect that to be the final moment. I thought there was going to be a decent amount more as we pressed against Achilles. But actually that is the final thing you had to do. Defeat Sparta. There's this cool Bronze Age pot cutscene which is showing the story of the Iliad. I don't really know what the story of the Iliad is beyond the Brad Pitt movie, but it seems to sync up with that, so we'll just skip over that for now. Here is where that ends up getting to. The results screen, we've done it. We did the Homeric victory. I had mentioned before I thought we had to kill Achilles to complete our victory condition. Well, you don't, as it turns out. I'll get to that in a second. Once you win, it shows you this little slideshow of all the things that happened in your campaign. So if you look closely, you'll see the grey territory towards the right is us, and we gradually spread out across the map, the islands first, then down to Crete, and at the very end we're going to push through Crete and up onto mainland Greece, and that's where the campaign suddenly ends. So that's that really. We can look at the stats as well. Nothing too out of the ordinary. We won a bunch of wars, we did a bunch of diplomacy, sold all kinds of alliances and military access to other factions, making us a lot of money, even though we were tanking money for many of the final turns of the campaign. Just managed to keep topping it up by selling stuff, so it all went well. Had more units than we were supposed to, which might have contributed to the speed of our victory. A relatively short campaign by the looks of things, although 100 turns isn't too far off the amount of time it normally takes to complete a total war campaign. Just normally there'd be a lot more battles during those 100 turns, or more things that happen in general. So now I wanted to see, why have we won the campaign? Here I am looking around the screen trying to find out how you look at your victory objectives. I had this vague memory I'd seen it somewhere or looked at it before. Let's just cut to when I eventually found it. Here is the deal. We'd actually done the Homeric victory conditions. We'd done all of the 10 epic missions. Don't even remember what a lot of them were, but I think many of them will like have a certain amount of money, so we didn't really do anything for them. They just automatically completed in the background. And we defeated Mycenae, Sparta, and Knossos. Knossos were already dead by the time we got to Knossos, thanks to Sparta, and Mycenae were already dead thanks to Ithica, so that sped along our victory objectives. Here's the thing where you have to defeat your antagonist, the total war victory. The thing about that is you also have to have 100 settlements, so we're not even a third of the way to completing the full victory. It seems there's a big distance between these two victory conditions. Maybe the Homeric victory would normally be a bit harder, because if Ithaca hadn't randomly confederated Mycenae, there would be a continuing war for the Greek mainland before the campaign ended, but since things went the way they did, that's not going to be the case. We could go and actually conquer Mycenae to simulate that, but I also can't be bothered. We probably would do okay from this stage. We're setting up really for a 3 to 4 stack auto-resolve death blob, since we've got enough money and resources to just push all of these armies up through the Greek mainland and probably kill Ithaca, and then from there surgically destroy Achilles to get rid of the antagonist as well. That was what I was planning to do. I guess we'd have to conquer a lot of the left side of the map to actually get the region count we need as well. Although there is one other technique we could use. I came into the diplomacy menu and did the quick deal thing where it shows you everyone who's willing to do a certain deal. This is the deal for confederation, and you can see quite a few factions are willing to just join my faction, including Paris of Troy, one of the main factions. He's really eager to join. Apparently he's not very strong, although he does control quite a lot of territory on both sides of the Aegean, so that would be a very strategic confederation. There's also a safer one down here, the faction next to us back in our starting position, which has absorbed the factions that used to be next to us. They want to confederate, so we can take them into the fold just to make our initial Lycian homeland more secure and stuff. You can't exploit the deal to get money off them at the same time or something, which is a shame, but we do take all of their territory and their units. This also completes the mission I was going on about towards the start of the campaign, the Annex of Rhodes thing, because those guys had all of the territories we needed to complete it. So there we go, I did do that mission in the end after all of those distractions. Actually brings our borders up to a random faction we're at war with, so we'd have to do something with this new territory. One of the main things we need to do is sort it out, because we've inherited their economy and now we're tanking food. Although that's mostly because of the debuff to your food supply you get from having multiple generals active. So because we have all their generals now, we're just losing food because they exist, so we need to just combine all of their units into one army, and then we'd have a much better time. Plus we can get rid of some of the armies because we don't need them. But this is all pointless because I'm not actually going to do that. From there, we probably could continue on to confederate more factions. You can only confederate one every 8 turns, but we could easily get a lot of the total war victory objective if we did confederate them all, and at the same time probably auto-resolve spam Ithaca to get some more, and head towards the final victory, even though it would be a little bit annoying to do it. So this is the end of this Troy campaign. I didn't think this would be the final episode when I went to record footage for it, but it is, so here we are. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Next I'm going to play the new DLC for Total War 3 Kingdoms, the Furious Wild Nanman campaign thing. I think it's just coming out at the moment. I haven't actually been paying enough attention to know, but I also think that somewhere in an email I got sent a free copy of it for review purposes or something. That means I can get in on this game for free, so I probably will. I'd like to record something vaguely near it coming out, just for that tiny bit of relevancy that I never really bothered to go for. So I hope you'll join me for that, starting relatively soon, and I hope you enjoyed seeing the Troy campaign. My review of Troy is that collecting the resources is quite fun, but the battles are way too janky and are generally out of control, and I just didn't like them. So it's lucky, I suppose, that the campaign can be won with so many auto-resolves. You don't really have to play many battles, as we saw. That's that then. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.